Did you know that Aria T'Loak, the enigmatic Asari warlord from Mass Effect, has a past filled with secrets and power struggles that could change everything we know about Omega? But just who exactly is Aria? Greetings spacefarers, I'm Michael and welcome to MTJ Disorder's Mass Effect Lore, a passion piece on all things Mass Effect. If you are into science fiction, gaming and other action adventures, then go ahead and subscribe and like this video for more. This week we'll uncover the mysterious past of Aria T'Loak, exploring her rise to power and pivotal moments that shaped her character in the Mass Effect universe. Get ready to dive into the underbelly of Omega and meet the woman who rules it with an iron fist. Now, one of the biggest challenges when it comes to unraveling the nature of Aria is understanding her complex motivations. I mean, we are talking about a character who has navigated through a ruthless environment like Omega, where betrayal is just a part of the daily grind. So what drives Aria? Is it ambition, survival, or something deeper? Throughout her journey, she faced countless obstacles, from rival gangs to the ever-watchful eyes of the Council. Each of these challenges shaped her into the fierce leader we see today, but the question remains, how did she rise above it all? What sacrifices did she make along the way? And just who exactly is she? Aria T'Loak is the de facto ruler of the space station Omega, the nominal capital of the Terminus systems. Also known as the Pirate Queen of Omega, Aria is fiercely possessive of the space station and will do anything to protect it and maintain her dominance, even styling herself as the boss, CEO, and Queen if you're feeling dramatic. Let's take a deeper look into Aria's backstory. There's not much known about her past. Presumably born on Thessia and rumoured to be at least 1,000 years old, she didn't always have the power and influence she now commands on Omega. It is clear that at some point in her youth she had been trained as an Asari commando, as her abilities are beyond that of the average biotic, though this would appear to have been one of her only strengths at the time. Early on in life, Aria had to forge relationships with key characters that played a significant role in her development. For instance, her connection with the many infamous mercenary groups in the Terminus systems was pivotal. They were at times both her allies and enemies, and this dynamic pushed Aria to focus on improving her strategic skills. At some point in the late 19th century CE, Aria would arrive on Omega for the first time, earning her keep as an exotic dancer at the nightclub Afterlife. Though this was merely a front, as she had designs on a far greater goal. As she climbed the ranks, she would face various encounters with prominent members of Omega's elite, namely the many leaders and figures of authority in the gangs and mercenary groups that held the majority of power on Omega. Though it was one fateful encounter that would ultimately cement her status as Omega's feared leader. Let's highlight the moment when Aria takes control of Omega. Picture this. The once fragmented factions all vying for power, and here comes Aria, showcasing her strategic brilliance. It wasn't just about brute force, it was about making the right alliances and knowing when to strike. The defining choices she made during this time solidified her power, turning her from a player in the game to the queen of the board. It is this moment that really encapsulates who Aria T'Loak is, a mastermind in a world where only the cunning survive. The moment in question, the defeat of Omega's former Krogan ruler, who Aria would come to name derisively the Patriarch, the word Patriarch itself having no meaning in Asari culture due to their monogendered nature. It was the Patriarch who had hired Aria initially to work as a dancer in his club, something I'm sure he would come to later regret, as it would not take long for her to impress him with more than just her pretty face, utilising her biotic prowess to eventually earn her place as one of his most trusted lieutenants. After over a century, Aria's ambitions started to appear more obvious. Many of the Patriarch's men became increasingly accustomed to certain fringe benefits of working with Aria and her fellow Asari, causing them to shift their loyalties. This would rightly cause the Patriarch to become increasingly paranoid that someone, if not Aria herself, had intentions to move against him. With his men abandoning him left and right, Aria seized the opportunity and challenged him to single combat on the main floor of Afterlife. The battle was reportedly long and brutal, culminating in a decisive victory for Aria, leading to her taking over as Omega's de facto ruler. In the aftermath, the Patriarch was near death, having had one of his hearts crushed by Aria's lethal biotics, though mercifully he was spared, but not without cruel intention. He was ultimately nursed back to health, and kept around as a trophy and a warning to all who would dare challenge her authority. Though eventually, as time passed, she would come to hold respect for the old Krogan, permitting him a life in extravagant retirement. For many centuries, Aria ruled Omega with an iron fist. She is very authoritarian in her reign, though her organisation is quite strong and her men extremely loyal. Almost nothing that happens on Omega escapes her notice, causing mercenary groups to think twice before crossing her. No matter who she deals with, she makes sure she has the upper hand in the bargaining. After a millennia of experience dealing with people who thought themselves to be in better positions, simply by observing a person, she can easily read a lot about them and usually immediately knows if they are lying. On top of all of that, she is quite the narcissist, treating her subordinates almost like subjects and her guests as outsiders, and she is always determined to get the last word in a conversation. During times of relative peace, she can often be found lounging with her most trusted confidants in the offices above the main dance floor in Afterlife, effectively seated upon a throne of her most prized possession, her beloved couch. Her day-to-day dealings appear almost like a feudal monarch holding court, taking requests and hearing pleas from not only the inhabitants of Omega, but freelancers and civilians from all across the Terminus systems. Her ruling style is somewhat vain. Much of the balance she helps maintain is only tolerated as far as it affects her. This can be seen in her indifference to the mercenary known as Archangel, whom she willfully ignores as long as they return the courtesy. She appears to have a Type A dominant personality, often choosing to keep people in a position of subjugation rather than trusting them as peers. However, this ultimately ends up being a defense mechanism, as she is known in isolated scenarios to allow others to get close to her, even take on romantic interests, though begrudgingly it seems. Nonetheless, there does appear to be a softer side to her, though it can be incredibly difficult to witness. Those who she eventually comes to care for and respect must be strong and equally as intelligent. The more difficult it is for her to gain control over you, the easier it is to become her equal. There are many theories as to who Aria T'Loak actually is, though her history is intentionally left vague or obfuscated. For this reason, there is rarely no clear understanding of who she is and where she ultimately came from. There was this belief that she may be an escaped Ardat-Yakshi, though that is not very likely, as there are accounts of her engaging in romantic relations, as seen in the Omega DLC with Nyreen Kandros, and as we all know, romance does not end well for those ensnared by an Ardat-Yakshi. It is also quite possible that she is the former Asari commando Elena who Rex encountered in his travels. There are a few hints that suggest this. Aria herself talks of how her years as a mercenary encouraged professional rivalry. As we know, during this time, Rex was also working as a mercenary. She also mentions that the Patriarch wasn't the first Krogan she had pissed off, and her suggestion that sometimes she'd rather disappear than be forced to kill somebody closely resembles the way Rex recounts Elena's disappearance. The name Aria T'Loak, after all, could simply be nothing more than a new alias. And then there's this.
Better luck next time.
Better luck next time.
My personal theory connects Aria with a possible status of royalty among the Asari, a sort of second child with nothing to inherit type scenario that leads her to leave Thessia and forge her own path. I don't have much evidence to back this up, though I do believe her influence with the Asari Councillor, though anecdotal, is a little telling. However, as others have pointed out, this could merely suggest Aria has some leverage over the Asari Councillor, and she is actively blackmailing her. Another possibility is that Councillor Tivos is Aria's former bondmate, and parent of her daughter, Lizelle, though that wouldn't explain Councillor Arissa's willingness to bow to her should the Council have died during the Battle of the Citadel. What's more likely is that Aria is simply nothing more than an example of the self-made, organised crime boss archetype, a la Tony Montana and Tony Soprano. We'll discuss more of these possibilities in the next video in the series, as we delve into Aria's life as it progresses through the events of the games, comics and books. In the meantime, what do you think? Is there more to Aria than the games seem to imply, or is she nothing more than what is advertised?
Omega has no titled ruler and only one rule. Don't fuck with Aria.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Aria T'Loak's past, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and check out our other videos for more fascinating insights into the Mass Effect universe. Keyless Ally, my friends, and until next time.
I should go.